Welcome back to lesson 13.3. We are still continuing this lesson, understanding hour and minute hands. Yesterday we talked about the hour hand, the minute hand, and then we had the long skinny one that counts seconds. And remember the formula. There are 60 seconds in a minute. There are 60 minutes in an hour. And how many hours are in a day? And don't you dare say 60, Saraya. 24. Good job. Okay, we also talked about what the clock looks like. Now, yesterday I delivered some packages, and some of you got a clock that looks like this, and some of you got a clock that looks like this. They are both the same. The bigger ones, you have a little spot at the bottom that you could write the time in, okay? Let's review. What kind of clock has a face and two hands? Eleanor? Correct. Analog. Remember that? Yeah, analog has a face, two hands, and usually has numbers or dots along the edge of that circle. Okay, what do we call the clock that we see in our cars or our microwaves or on our bedroom clock, our alarm clocks, or even our cell phones? Allie? Right, those are called digital. Digitals are very easy to read because you just say the number. If the number says 4.00, you read it 4 o'clock. Now, the reason we are learning about the analog, because we need to know what the hands mean when they're pointing at different numbers. The words that you say will sound like you're reading a digital clock, but you're actually learning how to read an analog clock. It's a very special skill. Now, sometimes in our classroom, I use this phrase: please walk around the perimeter clockwise. Well, now I'm going to tell you what that means. The way of the clock always goes clockwise. It always follows the numbers from lowest to highest. If you say counterclockwise, that means it's going backwards, okay? So if I tell you to go around a circle clockwise, you would go this way. Do you see that? Now, we always went clockwise in our room, and that's kind of why I do that, so that you get used to how the clock works. Pretty ingenious, isn't it? Also in your packet yesterday, you got some papers that had pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. This is what I'd like you to do with those. We're going to start with the penny. You're going to fold them in half on the dotted line. Voila. And then you're going to fold it this way. And that way, those are going to turn into little books, okay? All about a penny. This is the front, which is called the heads. And this is the back, which is called the tails. Good job, heads and tails. And the back says a penny is worth 1 cent. You know what? I think Sophie is barking at Whitley because Mrs. Robertson is taking her dog for a walk. And Sophie always barks at Whitley. All right, could you please make booklets out of all of those pages? And that will help you to learn and to remember pennies are worth 1 cent. You can also color them. So if you have some of those fancy dancy Crayola crayons that have all the metallics, remember the penny is copper, which is a brown, and all the rest of the coins are silver. You can really make it look special. Okay, back to our hours and our minutes. You want to come up? You want to come up? All right. Nope. Okay, remember yesterday we talked about how the hour hand, even though he's short, he's the boss. He's the big boss. The minute hand, remember, he's long and skinny because he has to do all the work. He has to go around the clock all the way. And the hour hand, remember, he only has to go one number at a time. He's kind of slow, isn't he? The minute hand is fast. And that really long, skinny guy, he's the fastest of all. He's so fast that sometimes we can hardly see him. All right, remember, hour hand is little. The minute hand is the big hand, okay? But the little guy, he is the boss. We always say his name first, and he is the only one that gets to say those big numbers, okay? All right, let's begin. I hope you have your green papers out. And if you would like to, why don't you go grab your small clock, and then you can do the exercise with me, okay? All right, let's look at the dialogue box. Look at the clock. Rhea says this clock shows 12 o'clock. Pat says this clock shows 3 o'clock. Who do you think is right, Rhea or Pat? All right, now I'm going to put my big clock just the way my paper says. 3 o'clock. Okay, is this correct or is it 12 o'clock? Now look at where the boss is. Oh, I love it. Liza, you know that it says 3 o'clock, don't you? 3 o'clock because the boss is pointing at the big number. Now, do we ever say it's 3:12? Not when it's like this. No. 3. And remember what we talked about yesterday? If it's pointing at the top, we just say o'clock. We don't say the minutes. We never say 3:00. We say o'clock, okay? Now I'm gonna, just for fun, show you a clock that I made the hands look the same way. I put the little hand on the 12 and the big hand on the 3. Ooh, looks quite a bit different, doesn't it? This would not be 3 o'clock. This is actually, where's the little hand pointing? The little hand is pointing at the 12. But guess what? Remember we talked about the counting by fives? 5, 10, 15. So what is the minute hand actually pointing to? He's actually pointing to a 15. So this time would be 12:15. Remember, he can never say the big number. He has to do those counting by 5 minutes. Good job. You guys are really bright today. I love it. Okay, let's open up our booklet, and we're going to keep on going. I am going to skip this part because you have already been practicing that yesterday and today. Let's go down to the bottom. Now, I'd like you to, we're going to do exercise number 1. Let's make our clocks look like this, okay? The hour hand we want on the 4, and the minute hand we want on the 12, all right? Now, even though the minute hand is going to be on the 12, we are never going to say 12 for a minute, okay? Okay, we're never going to say that when he's pointing up. He's always o'clock. So what are we going to say? 4 o'clock. Good job. All right, why don't we practice our song since 4 o'clock is a great one, okay? When the big hand's at the top, then we know it's 4 o'clock. But when the hand goes around and it's pointing down, we know it's half past 4 o'clock. It must be 4:30. Remember that? It's half past. Do you see how it's halfway between the 4 and the 5? And where's my minute hand pointing? All the way down at the 6, which is half of the clock. But we're going to say the minutes. Remember? We are not allowed to say the 6. Minute hand has to say the minutes. It's 4 o'clock. It's 4:30. Good job, boys and girls. Okay, let's go to number 2. Let's put our hour hand on the 9. And our minute hand is going to be on the 12. All right. I'm going to put my minute hand on the 12, and I'm going to put my hour hand on the 9. So what time is this? 9 o'clock. Good job, everyone. All right, now let's go back and do the Rhea and the Pat one. Put your hour hand on the 3 and put your minute hand, keep it up on the 12. 3:12. Oh, you got me, JJ. It is not 3:12, is it? It is 3 o'clock. Let's sing our song for 3 o'clock, okay? How about that? When the big hand's at the top, then you know it's 3 o'clock. But when the hand goes around and it's pointing down, it must be 3 o'clock. It must be 3:30. Good job. And remember, it's kind of like a pizza pie. Looks like a big pizza, doesn't it? And if I cut that pizza in half, I can cut my hour in half. Do you see that? I can go straight down. So I can do an o'clock, and I'm going to just put both hands up there. I can do an o'clock, but if it goes all the way down, I just cut my clock in half, and we're going to say half past. And that's where we get the 30. 30 plus 30 equals, Wes? 60. You guys know that. Yeah, good job. So number 3 would be 3 o'clock. Wow, that one was really easy. All right, the next page. We are going to have to draw some of these clocks, okay? Now, this is kind of the tricky spot, okay? It takes a little bit of effort to learn how to draw those clocks because the minute hand has to be long. And you know what? I don't have a marker. All right, we're going to just have to make do. All right, 10 o'clock. I'm going to draw it on my, pretend I'm drawing. I'm going to put it on my face of my clock here. Little hand goes on the 10. Big hand goes on the 12. 10 o'clock. Okay, so on your paper, it's really easy. All you're going to do is start on that little dot in the center, and you're going to make a little arrow that comes out, and you're just going to make a little one. Make sure you can see that it's pointing at the 10. And for the o'clock, we make a straight line all the way up. Now, as you can see, I'm going to read all these to you. 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 6, 1, 5, 8 o'clock. They will all have the minute hand going straight up, okay? All right. I'm going to skip the bottom. I'd like you to go to the back. I'd like you to do number 16. If you have time today, you can do the hot questions, but I would like you to do the last one, okay? Can you do that for me? All right. And don't forget, you can use your little clocks to help you out. And don't forget also, I need you to make your little booklets today. So you have a few clocks to do. We already did the front, so all you have to do is really do the inside and do number 16, okay? Easy cheesy, lemon squeezy. I love you. Have a great day telling time. Bye-bye.